Hi, so Suleiman Sounds has posted a fairly new video. It's about Letby symbolism and are there possible medieval links. And it triggered off an idea, and I think this might explain how Dewey ended up, just turning up at the Cheshire Police headquarters. But I'll come on to that. First, Professor Peter Hindmarsh. This is one of the expert witnesses who it turned out was under investigation. So is he going to get into loads and loads of trouble now that this has been brought up? Sadly, probably not. And I'm going to quote from The Guardian as to why not. So this is their most recent article about it. Rules governing criminal cases require expert witnesses to disclose to the side they are giving evidence for. So that would have been Cheshire Police in Hindmarsh's case. Anything that, quote, might reasonably thought capable of undermining the expert's opinion or detract from the credibility or impartiality of the expert, unquote. So we've got the two words might reasonably and also be thought. Unfortunately, what might be thought to undermine, an expert's opinion, that is very, very subjective once you put it in those terms, like reasonable evidence. What is reasonable? What is unreasonable? What is concrete? So, unfortunately, the words might reasonably be thought. It gives him plenty of wriggle room to say, well, I didn't think they'd think that or whatever. And then we come on to Glyn Maddox, King's Counsel. So he comments on this rule generally. And he says, as I understand the rules, in order to be open and transparent with the court, this expert should have disclosed this investigation, so its relevance and importance could be assessed. And the word there is should have, as in ought to have. So it is not concretely that, it was imperative he did this. It's more kind of like he ought to have, a bit more strong than that. But it does seem that there could be a bit of wriggle room. It shouldn't be, but it's kind of how the law works. If it isn't something that is set in stone, there are ways of getting around it, sadly. So, yeah, how we managed to get so much ineptitude in this trial is beyond me, because there's him, there's Dewey Evans, there's Breary and Jerram. We all know they've both made mistakes, given really suspect evidence, contradicted themselves, what have you. John Gibbs, he's not immune either, and certainly others we could name. And it's kind of, this is scary, that many inept professionals ending up in one place. What does it say about the National Health Service, for starters? But yeah, what I was going to come to, so Suleiman Sounds, she's done this really, really interesting video about looking at medieval symbolism and imagery and what have you. And, you know, Joan of Arc obviously comes to mind here. But it got me thinking, wait, Masons. And I tell you why Masons. Because it's a network. And I know this is all going to sound very Da Vinci Code. No, it's not really, because, look, I used to live down the road from a Masonic lodge. I expect some of you live near them, and you know, you see them going in and out with their little clarinet cases, you know, that they have their ropes to hold their trouser legs up or whatever it is. You know, we all know who they are, and so it's not a secret society as such, and that is a Mason who themselves said so. But the rituals, once you're in the Masons, what goes on once you're in the Masonic lodge, when you're at your services or whatever, that is a secret. You're not supposed to speak of it outside. But whoever is a Mason, you know, they know other Masons, they know general members of the public know them, they know they're Masons. So that is not a big secret as such. But the thing is, being a Mason means that you are very, very well connected, because you have to, you know, be of a certain standing and financial status to be invited into the Masons. So it is very much an old boy network. So, you know, you're going to get this situation where, you know, every medical professional knows other medical professionals. Every Mason knows other Masons in and outside of their immediate area. And then, obviously, a lot of medical professionals are probably, a fair few of them are probably going to be Masons. So, you know, the network, it kind of gets tighter and it expands at the same time. So, you know, the idea of knowing someone who knows someone who knows someone, it kind of brings it a lot closer. So this would explain, you know, because we were wondering, oh, did, you know, Jairam or Breary attend a conference where Dewey, you know, was possibly there as well? It needn't have been that. It could have just been, you know, word of mouth going round the old boys club. It could very easily have been that. And the same with other people, you know, who showed up at the trial. Not Sandy Bohin, because she's a woman, although there are women Masons, but they, you know, the women Masons are separate to the men Masons. They, you know, they have their own separate meeting place and network. And the story behind that is quite amusing if you don't know it. So I believe it was in the 19th century that the Masons actually took off and the Masonic lodges took off. I know it began earlier, you know, with the Age of Enlightenment. Obviously Mozart's The Magic Flute, you know, that's all to do with Enlightenment and, you know, Masonic Enlightenment. But I think the guy certainly who started up the Masonic lodges in the UK. You know, they got together in their, like, you know, posh rich boys club, and, you know, in their rich posh man shed, if you like. You know, we're going to have this rich posh man shed, and you know, what the rules we're going to have. Oh yeah, our rituals are secret, and no women at all are going to be allowed in or to see the rituals or anything, under pain of death. And just then they discovered a woman hiding in the wardrobe, and it was this guy's wife. You know, and there was a bit of a conundrum, because, you know, they just decided, you know, in a vote that no woman shall be there and observe or hear or whatever what was going on pain of death. So, you know, what are they going to do with this woman? But she's this guy's wife, so they can't, you know, they can't bump her off. So anyway, what they decide in the end is that, okay, from now on, the women can be Masons too, but they got to do their Masonic thing differently, you know, in a different place from all the men, and so on. So, and that's how the women's Masons movement started. So yeah, that is my thoughts on all that. Yeah, do have a look at Solomon Sound's video. So please like, subscribe, and hope to see you in the next video.